He walked away calmly. No panic, no rush, no fear, because he believed one thing: no one saw him. But a silent camera was already recording everything, every step, every movement, every mistake. And that footage would later do what witnesses couldn't. It would expose him. This is the true crime story of a murderer who didn't know he was caught on camera. It started like any other night. No alarms, no screams, no immediate signs of danger. The street looked calm. Some windows still had lights on. A car passed slowly, the way cars do when everyone's trying to get home. Somewhere nearby, someone was laughing at a joke inside a room. Someone else was scrolling on their phone. Somebody was boiling water for tea. Life was doing what life always does, right up until it wasn't. Because inside a nearby building, behind an ordinary door, something terrible had already happened. And the most unsettling part? The person responsible didn't act like someone who had just taken a life. He acted like someone who believed he was untouchable. What made this case unusual wasn't the crime itself. It was the confidence of the killer. He didn't run. He didn't cover his face. He didn't even check his surroundings. He moved like a man who believed he was invisible. And that belief is usually where criminals get sloppy. Because when fear disappears, mistakes begin. Mounted high above the entrance was a small security camera. Old, silent, easy to ignore. The kind of camera people stop noticing after a few weeks. The kind of camera criminals assume is broken because it looks cheap. But the camera didn't need to look expensive to do its job. It only needed to be awake. And that night, it was. The killer walked directly beneath it. At that moment, the camera captured 1, his posture, 2, his clothing, 3, the way his shoulders moved, 4, the exact time he entered, 5, the exact time he left. No dramatic movement, no obvious panic. Just a man convinced he had gotten away with murder. Red circle appears around the suspect. What he didn't understand is this. Modern investigations don't rely on witnesses the way they used to, because witnesses forget. Witnesses get scared. Witnesses mix up details. But footage doesn't forget. Footage doesn't blink. Footage doesn't remember it differently. Footage simply plays back the truth. And the truth in this case had a timestamp. Hours later, the body was found, not by police, not by a security guard, by an ordinary person living an ordinary routine, who opened the door and realized something was terribly wrong. The call went out. Officers arrived expecting what they always expect in cases like this: confusion, fear, fragmented stories, half-true details. And at first it looked like a difficult case. No forced entry, no immediate suspect, no eyewitnesses standing outside saying it was him. Just questions hanging in the air. Then someone mentioned the cameras, a small comment, almost casual. Don't we have CCTV here? That single question changed everything. Investigators began pulling footage, one camera, then another, then another. Because here's the truth. Most buildings today don't have one camera. They have a network, a front entrance camera, a hallway camera, a stairwell camera, a parking lot camera. Sometimes even a doorbell camera across the street. The killer didn't just walk into a building, he walked into a digital net, and that net was about to tighten. They watched the footage the way you watch something you don't want to be true, frame by frame. At first, it was boring, nothing dramatic, no running, no struggle on screen, just normal hallway movement. Then, there he was, a figure in dark clothing, walking in. A few minutes later, walking out. Alone, no one walking with him, no one chasing him, no one arguing behind him, just him, and the timestamps matched perfectly. The entry time lined up with the last known moment the victim was alive. The exit time lined up with the silence that followed, and in investigations, silence is evidence too. Timeline bar 02:13 a.m. Suspect enters 02:14 a.m., moves down hallway 02:20 a.m. Suspect exits 06:40 a.m. Body discovered. But what truly made it worse for him was what happened next. Because most criminals, once they get away, try to disappear. They avoid the area. They avoid the building. They avoid anything connected to the crime. This man did the opposite. He returned. Days later. Same clothes, same walk, same face. Like he owned the place. Like he was checking something. Or maybe like he simply believed the world was still blind. But the camera wasn't blind. It remembered him. Before police knew his name, the camera already knew his shape. Investigators later said the killer made 3 critical mistakes. Mistake number 1, he assumed the camera wasn't working. That's a common criminal fantasy, believing cameras are decorations. But in many buildings, even an old camera can still record. And even if one camera fails, There's usually another one watching from a different angle. Mistake number 2, he didn't cover his face, not properly. A hood helps, but it doesn't erase height, posture, and gait. Your walk is like a fingerprint, it's hard to fake consistently. Mistake number 3, he underestimated digital evidence. Because today digital evidence doesn't stand alone, it connects. Footage connects to timing, timing connects to phone data connects to location, location connects to a person. And once the pieces begin to match, the case stops being a mystery, it becomes a map. Footage was enhanced. Not movie enhanced, not magically turning a blur into a perfect face. Real enhancement. Increasing contrast, stabilizing frames, cleaning noise, sharpening edges. Then investigators analyzed movement patterns, how fast he walked, when he paused, where he looked, and then they studied the time gaps, the space between entry and exit, because criminals can lie. But time is stubborn. Time tells you what was possible and what wasn't. Investigators followed the trail backward, and slowly the digital net began pointing to one place, one person. When officers finally knocked on his door, he was calm, the kind of calm that looks like confidence. He believed they had nothing, no weapon found, no witness statements, no confession, just suspicion. And suspicion, he thought, can't convict. But police didn't come with suspicion, they came with proof. He tried to act normal. He answered questions like someone who had rehearsed innocence. Then investigators showed him the footage, and something changed. Not dramatically, not like in movies, just a subtle shift. The kind of shift people make when their brain realizes this is over. His expression tightened. His eyes lingered on the screen a little too long, because that's the moment he understood. The camera had seen everything, and the camera doesn't argue, it simply plays. Today, most violent crimes aren't solved by luck, they're solved by connected evidence, surveillance cameras, traffic cameras, doorbell cameras, phone location data, and criminals still haven't adjusted to how watched the modern world is. They imagine darkness equals safety. But darkness is exactly when cameras work best. Infrared, low light sensors, wide-angle lenses. Every street has eyes now, and silence no longer protects anyone because even if no one speaks, the footage speaks. The most dangerous belief a criminal can have is this: no one is watching, because someone always is. Sometimes it's a neighbor through a curtain, but more often it's a small camera they never noticed, a camera that doesn't get scared, a camera that doesn't forget, a camera that records the one thing the criminal can't control, the truth. If you enjoy real-life crime stories that reveal how criminals get caught, subscribe for more true crime documentaries, because the truth always leaves a trace, and sooner or later it gets played back. One question haunted investigators as they reviewed the footage again and again: why did he come back? Criminals usually avoid the scene of their crimes. They disappear, they change routines. They distance themselves from anything that could connect them to what they've done. But some don't. Some return. And when they do, it's rarely by accident. Psychologists call it scene re-engagement. It's the moment when a criminal revisits the place of the crime, physically or emotionally, because the act itself didn't give them the closure they expected. For some, it's curiosity. For others, it's control. For a few, it's arrogance. They want to see if the world has noticed. They want to confirm their own belief. I got away with it. In this case, the killer returned days later. Same route, same posture, same calm confidence. The camera didn't see a different man. It saw the same one, repeating a mistake. Investigators don't just look at faces, they look at movement. How a person walks, how their arms swing, how their shoulders tilt. This is called gait analysis. And while it's not as famous as fingerprints or DNA, it's surprisingly consistent. People can change clothes, they can shave their heads, they can wear masks, but they almost never change how they walk. When analysts compared the footage from the night of the crime to the footage from his return visit, something became clear. The pace matched, the stride length matched, the slight hesitation near the doorway matched. It was like watching the same person replay the same scene, just on a different day. The camera didn't need his name, it already recognized his pattern. Modern investigations don't look at footage in isolation, they build camera maps. A visual reconstruction of every possible angle a suspect could have passed through. Investigators started at the entrance, then they worked outward. A hallway camera inside the building, a stairwell camera near the back exit, a parking lot camera across the street, a traffic camera at the nearby intersection. Each camera added another piece, not a full picture, but enough to follow movement. Timestamps were synchronized, every second mattered. Because when you align cameras, you don't just see where someone was, you see where they couldn't have been. And that's how alibis collapse. In the past, cases depended heavily on people, neighbors, passers-by, friends. But people forget details, they second-guess themselves, they get scared, cameras don't. They are the silent witnesses that never leave the scene. And unlike human witnesses, they don't exaggerate or minimize, they just exist. In this case, the cameras didn't show violence, they didn't show the crime itself, but they showed something just as powerful: opportunity, presence, timing.